Rookie quarterback Tyler Shough's excellence over the middle of the field could lead the New Orleans Saints to a win today against the New York Jets.
You are Locked On Saints, your daily New Orleans Saints podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is good, Who Dat Nation and Who Dat family? I am your host, your friend Ross Jackson, New Orleans native, your New Orleans Saints expert and credentialed member of the media covering those New Orleans Saints as a Saints beat writer over at LouisianaSports.net. And on today's episode of Locked On Saints, we got a little bonus pregame episode for you. We'll take a look at the supporting cast that will be available for the Saints on offense, and we're going to kick everything off with the exact ingredient that could lead the New Orleans Saints to a win over the New York Jets. And thankfully, it's something that Tyler Shough has been really, really good at all season long. We got all that coming up for you on today's episode. We appreciate you very much. Whether it's your first time or your next time being here with us this time, making us your first listen and being an everydayer here on the show, which is a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Thank you for helping us get here as we bring you your team every day. I wanted to do a little bit of a pregame episode today because I've been doing a lot of research around this matchup with players in, players out, the Jets having players in, the Jets having players out. And so I've been trying to just get as holistic a view of this game as possible. And thanks to one of our all access or legacy insiders, Scott, he helped me find a stat that I think is really important for this game. And I wanted to go ahead and share it for you. So big shout out to Scott for finding this and for sending me down the path of the rest of what I found. But Pro Football Focus publishes a story every weekend around like the big key insights from games. They had a really good call out about Tyler Shough's efficiency over the middle of the field. He's completed 86.4% of his passes over the middle of the field. That's between the numbers, right? Not just between the hashes, but between the numbers as well. And so I took that kind of area of the field and I wanted to go and do a deeper dive into it beyond just the 86% completion percentage number that was shared. And I wanted to dive in a little bit further. So what we know is that the 86.4% completion percentage that Tyler Shough has between the numbers, which by the way is insane. That is a crazy amount of efficiency and reliability in an area where the Saints didn't attack really much over the course of the past few years. That's #1 in the NFL amongst all quarterbacks with starts. So I should mention that this 86.4% completion percentage is him in his starts, right? So the six games in which he's actually been the starting quarterback. That's #1 amongst all starting NFL quarterbacks that have at least 90 passing attempts. He's got 94 in his starts over the course of the year so far. So excellent there to be sitting atop the league, but it doesn't end there. I took this a step further and I wanted to see more efficiency stats. How about yards per attempt between the numbers so far this season? As a starter, Tyler Shough tied for #3 at 9.2 yards per attempt. So we're not just talking about him, dinking and dunking here in the middle of the field. It's either getting the ball downfield 10, 12, 16, 18 yards. We saw that in the two kind of game tying and game winning drives against the Carolina Panthers last week, but also providing receivers catch and run opportunities. Remember, Audric Estime, the running back who's going to be the lead back today with Devin Neal out, he ends up catching a pass that he takes for 9 yards, and he got a good bit of that after the catch in that hurry-up drive to tie up the game. Passer rating, 113.1. That's #7 in the NFL. EPA per dropback, so not just per completion in terms of trying to boost any of these stats or anything, but per every single time that he drops back and targets the middle of the field between the numbers, it averages 0.51 EPA per toss, per dropback. That's really, really good. That's highly efficient. That's #1 in the NFL. The way to think about that is that if he's targeting the middle of the field, he's effectively bringing you a half a point every single dropback, every single pass. So what that shows is a bit of an efficiency in terms of completing that 9-yard pass in a 3rd and 2 or a 9-yard pass in a 2nd and 8, as opposed to a 9-yard pass on a 2nd and 24, which isn't going to get you anything in the EPA world. And so really, really high marks there in terms of efficiency when it comes to it. And then we'll go to success rate, right? What's the percentage of plays that he drops back or offensive plays that he drops back targeting the middle of the field, what percentage of them are considered successful? How about 67.4% of them, number one in the NFL, number two in the league, by the way, who has the second highest success rate targeting the middle of the field between the numbers? Well, that'd be Matthew Stafford at 63.7. So over 5% less. And we're talking about that guy being an MVP candidate. And by the way, he is, right? He's an MVP frontrunner. And so not bad company to be in, and certainly not bad areas here for Tyler Shough to rank it. So why is this important going into this game against the Jets? Two reasons. The Jets play the fourth most man coverage in the NFL. And when they play zone, they play a lot of cover 3 zone, which means that the middle of the field is going to be at least the place that you want to attack and challenge. And the seams are going to be available against cover 3. And so those are going to be places between the numbers that Tyler Shough has been really comfortable operating so far. And so you want to challenge those hook curl defenders in the middle of the field, the two linebackers in the middle of the field, slants, drags, things like that are going to work over the middle. But if you want to push the ball downfield and try to get in between 2 of the 3 deep safeties on either side of the field, maybe one gets too much width to one side, one is too deep, has too much depth in the middle of the field, then you might go after the seams with Juwan Johnson, right? So Chris Olave, Juwan Johnson become really important in this game. And then when you're facing man coverage, a lot of those crossers, crossing the middle of the field, trying to create congestion, trying to create confusion and traffic in the middle of the field for the defense. Guys with speed, Chris Olave, Mason Tipton, if he's able to go. We'll find out here in a couple of hours because he is questionable with illness. But the speed of some of these guys could be really, really beneficial in crossing the middle of the field and attacking between the numbers. So Tyler Shough in a pretty good position here to have a major impact on this game simply with his ability to be able to compete in the middle of the field in between the numbers against a man-heavy defense and a defense that loves its cover 3 when it goes into zone coverage. So positive stuff for New Orleans going into this one, despite what the supporting cast might look like. Before we get to that supporting cast, the Jets also run a lot of inside zone. They're pretty effective there, 4.4 yards per run on inside zones, 9th in the NFL in that total. But the Saints only allowing 3.8 yards per inside run. That's 9th in the NFL as well. And they've not allowed a single touchdown so far against the inside zone concept, according to Pro Football Focus. So with all of that taken into consideration, the Saints have 2 major things that they need to do. One on offense, attack the middle of the field. One on defense, don't let the inside zone run get away from you. And if the Saints can do that, they could find themselves in position, as hampered as they are on the offensive side, to walk away with a win here in Week 16 in the home finale at the Caesars Superdome later on today. Coming up next, let's break down that supporting cast for the New Orleans Saints, because behind the team's top 2 passing options are going to be a little limited in terms of production and opportunity going into this game. Can Tyler Shough elevate them? We'll break it all down as we continue on with today's episode of Locked On Saints, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Saints brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel, the best place to go to get in on all of the action. And there is a lot of it, especially with these NFL Sundays, because they do move fast. And you want to make sure that you can move just as fast. That's why FanDuel's live betting is one of my favorite features that they have. The spreads and money lines will update instantly throughout a game. Prop bets will shift as guys heat up or cool down. You can bet everything from next touchdown scorers to drive results. That's one of my favorite things, by the way, the result of an individual drive, game totals, and much more, keeping you in every single step of the action on these NFL Sundays over at FanDuel. Right now, the New Orleans Saints, speaking of moving, the line has moved big time. Started at 4.5, now 6.5 in favor of the New Orleans Saints, favored at home. You like it? Head over to FanDuel today to get started. So if you want to be right in the middle of all the action, FanDuel is your place to go. Just head over to FanDuel.com to place your live bets here as the season wraps up. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Today's episode also brought to you by our friends over at Car Gurus. Look, shopping for a car should be exciting. It shouldn't be confusing. I'll tell you a true story. I tried the last time that I had to go out and buy a car, which thankfully has not been a while, but the last time that I had to try to buy a car, I went to a dealership. And I went to like a used car dealership. I'm just trying to buy a used car. New to me is still new, right? And I had to go through so many different conversations with so many different people. This person wanted to upsell me on this. This person wanted me to go to this brand, whatever. Just let me get what I want to get and what I came here for. That's what I love about Car Gurus. You can filter by everything from mileage, trim, features. You're only going to be shown the cars that you are looking for. Car Gurus get you connected with trusted dealerships for a transparent and hassle-free buying experience with over 4 million listings, the most of any major online automotive marketplace. You'll always find the best deal. So shop the way that you want with the tools, data, and unbiased deal ratings that make it easy. You can do that today. Buy or sell your car at cargurus.com. That's CARGURUS.com, cargurus.com. Let's get it, Who Dat Nation. The New Orleans Saints will be down some key recent contributors on the offensive side of the football, but the supporting cast will need to step up. This is a situation where it doesn't matter who's going to be on the field. They've got to step up. And as we've talked about all week, this is a fantastic opportunity for rookie quarterback Tyler Shough to show a very important element to his game and kind of help to stake that, kind of to plant that flag a little bit more, like with a little bit more oomph, if he can show that he can elevate players from role players in reserve to contributors on Sunday. So massive opportunity ahead for Tyler Shough, but massive opportunity for these supporting players that are going to be stepping up into larger roles as well. So we know Devaughn Vele is out. He's shut down for the rest of the season. He is on injured reserve with a shoulder injury. Same thing for rookie running back Devin Neal. I think two things on this. I think that it's wise. No need to try to rush these guys back. I've heard that one of them could potentially have been back up against the Atlanta Falcons, but wouldn't have been at 100%. So no sense in risking that and potentially risking further injury and then costing yourself some of OTAs or mini camps or something like that. Let these guys get ready with an actual NFL offseason after coming in through like busy drafts or busy off seasons, recovering for both of these guys from the past 2 years, right? Because Devaughn Vele was in the draft just 2 years ago and then had some recovery stuff over the course of the offseason. And then Devin Neal came into the league just this year. And so both of them have not had real NFL off seasons to an extent. So give them that opportunity here going into the 2026 offseason. So makes a lot of sense. My understanding is this has a lot more to do with the time that remains and the actual severity of the injuries, but severity of the injuries factors in because you don't want them to get worse, right? So with the two of those guys out and Alvin Kamara out and Rashid Shaheed with the Seattle Seahawks and Brandon Cooks are also out of here. Not a ton of weapons for the New Orleans Saints. They got Chris Olave, their leading receiver, 896 receiving yards so far for the season. Also leads in receptions with 82 and has a career high and also team leading number of touchdown catches so far with 6. And then you look at Juwan Johnson, who's got career highs in both catches with 62 and receiving yards with 644 and a trio of receiving touchdowns. But behind him, not a single player, not wide receiver and not tight end, not a single player with more than 54 receiving yards. Not a single player with 55 or more receiving yards going to be available for Tyler Shough and this New Orleans Saints offense on Sunday. So here's the rest of the supporting cast. And understand when I say this too, by the way, that when I'm reading off these numbers, I'm not saying anything about these players other than they haven't gotten a lot of opportunities, right? There's not been a lot of chances for these guys. And so this game becomes really important if they're able to make it out on the field in a couple of occasions to see if they can go out there and have an impact. Tight end Foster Morrow is the leader right now at 54 receiving yards. Mason Tipton, who's questionable going into this game with illness. Hopefully he can go. The Saints could use his speed against that hampered Jet secondary. 47 receiving yards, 42 for Jack Stoll, 39 for running back Audric Estime, 33 for wide receiver Kevin Austin Jr. He just got all those last week against the Carolina Panthers. After that, every single receiver or pass catcher option after that is under 25 receiving yards. Quarterback Taysom Hill, 23. Wide receiver Dante Pettis, as well as tight end Zaire Mitchell-Payton, who's also questionable going into this game with a knee injury. Both of them sitting at 14 yards. And then running back Evan Hull with 6 yards. That's the list. That's it. Not a single receiver over at 55 or more receiving yards or pass catching option as a whole. So this is going to be a big game about those guys stepping up, Tyler Shough elevating those guys. Can you go out there and score touchdowns with different players than just Chris Olave and Juwan Johnson? All that is going to be a part of what we're going to be watching in this game today against the New York Jets. Again, not saying anything negative about any of these players, just that the opportunities haven't been there before because of what the Saints have had and been able to rely upon with Devaughn, Vele, with Devin, Neal, with Alvin Kamara at an earlier point in the season, with Rashid Shaheed at an earlier point in the season. Some of these players weren't even on the roster in recent weeks. Audric Estime, Zaire Mitchell, Payton, Evan Hull. We're only really starting to see Kevin Austin Jr. off the practice squad. See what I'm saying? And in fact, actually, I'll tell you this too. The Saints have 14 receiving touchdowns this year. 9 of them belong to Chris Olave with 6 and Juwan Johnson with 3. The only player currently on the roster with a receiving touchdown that's available today across those players that I just named is Jack Stoll with 1 touchdown. Period. The other 4 touchdowns, 2 of them to Devaughn Vele, not available today. 2 of them to Rashid Shaheed, now a Seattle Seahawk. So a lot here for the New Orleans Saints. And again, this isn't about the team being bad. This isn't about the receiving options being poor. This isn't about anything. It's just that this is the opportunity now for all of them to step in. This is the opportunity now for Tyler Shough to show that he can help them step up as well. And so this becomes a really important game. Even though it's a 3-11 Jets team against a 4-10 Saints team, that means nothing for the playoffs or postseason life or anything. Both these teams have been eliminated for weeks. Doesn't mean that it's not an important game. It's a very important game. First of all, it's the home finale here in New Orleans. Secondly, it's a big opportunity for you to learn something about your potential future quarterback, about whether or not he can be a franchise guy and elevate talent around him. And oh, by the way, Trevor Penning is now a Los Angeles Charger. So your left guard is a backup in Dylan Radins. Center Eric McCoy is out for the season, has been out for the season since it was after the Chicago Bears game. Him and Kendre Miller both had season-ending injuries in that game. Luke Fortner, who, by the way, has done a great job. Actually, if I'm the Saints, I want to make sure he's back in a black and gold uniform next year as Eric McCoy insurance. I thought he's played well. I think he's played well. And then Will Sherman, who's going to be stepping in place of Cesar Ruiz, who's now dealing with another ankle injury. And so Cesar Ruiz is out. And by the way, Awesome Richards, who would usually be the backup there, is also out with an ankle injury of his own. And so your interior of your offensive line also impacted. Now, good news is that the New York Jets have the 32nd ranked pass rush in the NFL, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to give up some pressures here, and especially right up the middle, which could make all of this that we've talked about today very, very complicated. So very interested to see how the Saints play this one out. How does Kellen Moore call? How does Tyler Shough manage? How do the weapons step up? What's the run game look like? There's so much intrigue on the offensive side. Defense, I feel pretty good about, right? You're getting Justin Reed back. That's huge for this team. Chase Young's been on a tear. He's going up against Olu Fashanu, who's allowed 6 sacks on the season so far at left tackle. I'm fine with the matchups over the defensive side. But, man, on offense, you're about to learn a whole lot in a game that a lot of people outside of New Orleans will call meaningless. But this one could mean a lot for the future of what this New Orleans Saints team can look like. All right, we'll be breaking it all down after the game. Make sure you come through for the squad show, and then I'll see you as well with an episode after. So we appreciate you very much. As always, making us a part of your day, part of your routine for saying yes to me and the show. If you see me, please say hi. And if you need anything else around your New Orleans Saints in between these episodes, make sure you follow me on your favorite social media at Ross Jackson, NOLA. Hit me up. Let me know how the family's doing. How you living. Let me know how you momming them. And trust Who Dat Nation. I'll holla at you.